global success. So I know you're from Flint, Michigan, but it isn't New York and LA where, you know, the music scenes were big. How did you start off at the very beginning, just to start singing?
Well, you know, I come from sports. I'm a big football fan.
Okay.
And music was something that I kind of came home from football practice, and my mom bought a piano, a pool piano. And I got started writing songs just organically, a blessing from God. I would come home, fiddle-faddle on the piano, and I would come up with these melodies, but I wouldn't think anything of it until the talent shows. And I would go to some of the talent show rehearsals. I'm like, oh man, I could never do this. And the girls started screaming for one of the guys that was trying out for this talent show.
Yeah.
I said, next year I'll be at the talent show. So that started me on this journey because I wanted to hear the girls scream. I wanted to get on stage and be this star in high school and junior high school. And so that's kind of how my music career started.
Oh, so your mom buys you a piano. Did you go for piano lessons? Did she know you could sing, or what was that?
I didn't even know I could sing.
Okay.
So she bought the family piano.
Okay.
And we took lessons for probably a week, and it was just too disciplined for me. I had to get there, and Miss Northrup was my teacher, and it just was so boring to me to sit there and learn the piano. I told my mom I'm good. So I was still fiddle-faddle on the piano, and I just had this melody thing, probably from growing up listening to the blues, Sam Cooke. I grew up in Michigan, but I was born in Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Okay.
Where, Sam Cooke was born, the B.B. Kings, the big blues guys. And I grew up listening to that from my mom and dad. And I think that's pretty much where I get that storytelling from.
Yeah, but because it must be a gift, because I much as I like to play piano, to write a song to the melody, could you hear it and then you just does it just come into you like an inspiration? Or
it's more of an inspiration because I like to let music come to me. So when I'm sitting down on the keyboard, I'll fiddle-faddle until I hear something that strikes my attention.
Wow.
So I don't sit down with a predestined idea of what I'm going to come up with. It's more or less sitting down, playing around, and all of a sudden, one day I'm going to hit a chord that's going to make me build another chord and build another chord. And from there, I usually create a song. And then on top of that, I'll come across with a vocal arrangement, and it just keeps growing from there. So I pretty much grow a song.
where it's not far down to paradise. At least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, we can sail away. Find serenity. All the gas can do a miracle. Just to wait and see if you believe in me. Fantasy, it gets bad to me when I'm sad. Sailing, yeah. Ooh. Sailing, yeah. Take me away when I want it to be. Sailing takes me away to where I've always wanted to be. Sailing, oh, yeah. That goes out to all the doctors and nurses. Keeping us safe. Alright, it's in the morning, y'all. I love y'all all. Peace. Stay safe.
So going back to when you're in the talent show, did you say, okay, I'm going to sing a Temptations track, or were you then thinking, okay, were you writing your own? What did you end up doing?
I ended up writing my own song. It's a song on our second album. It's called It's All a Game.
What?
And I was in the talent show and I was playing it, and some of the guys were like, all right, trying to clap me off the stage. And I stood up and did my hair back like this and said, I'm not done yet. And the crowd went crazy. And I ended up taking second place to my sister, who won first place.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my family. But then, what about the confidence to get on stage? Because that's also a big thing. Yeah.
I was the first talent show I got in. I think I was in the third grade, and that was the kiddie talent show. But when I got in high school, it was people are really staring at you and looking at you.
Yeah.
And I think that confidence, I just had to put that in the back of my head because I really wanted the girls to scream. So the fear and all that kind of like went away, and I'm like, let me just get out here and do my thing. I was nervous.
Okay.
But at the same time, I just like, I got to get it done, and that's what I do.
What about the football? What happened with football when you found this new talent? What happened to football?
I continued to play football. I ached today for football. Football is my first love, but I stopped growing.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped growing, and football was no longer reality. My dad was a football coach, so football was ingrained in me.
Okay.
From a child, and that's still my love. But yeah, reality set in. I didn't grow anymore.
Okay. I guess you guys are Detroit Lions fans, or?
I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler, man.
Okay.
Since I was 8 years old, I've been a Pittsburgh Steeler fan.
Wow, living in Flint. How far is Mr. Flint from Detroit? Is it?
It's like 60 miles north.
Okay, so you not necessarily being from Flint, you didn't have to be a Lions fan and Sanders.
Nah, not necessarily. Yeah, 60 miles north, and I grew up in Flint. I moved out of the city of Flint back in 1986, so I kind of moved out to the suburbs outside of Flint, but I still have my family and friends and everybody. A lot of people.
Okay. Now, one of the things I noticed is when you're doing research is that you formed the group with your friend Gordon. Formed the Ready for the World.
Yeah,
now,
Gordon and I formed the group in high school.
Yeah. So so the question then becomes: is because you've already had the talent and you already had the exposure, what was the reason for wanting to be in a group as opposed to being solo? Because that's that. I just wondered.
The main reason why we did the group thing, it was in style. Other than that, there was no other reason, because Gordon and I, we started the group, but at the same time, when you have a lot of people in any type of partnership, there can come a lot of differences, creative differences. So our thing was to form a group because it was in style. It wasn't that we really needed to be in a group, because we were already writing and singing, and I was already doing the backgrounds and doing a lot of things myself.
Yeah.
And but you know, it was Gordon and I that were going to go ahead and do it. But we formed and got these guys from other groups just because it was in style.
Okay, so what were the groups that were, when you were coming up, that you were like looking and thinking, okay, you know, we can take a little from them?
I grew up checking out George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, man.
Okay.
That inspired me because of his creativity, the music,
Okay.
the theatrics on stage. His whole genius inspired me.
Wow.
Also grew up listening to Morris Day and the Time.
Okay.
I like that whole cohesive 6-member band action that Prince had put together.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Osborne with LTD.
Okay.
And Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. These guys are just, you know, incredible. So it was a big inspiration. Did
you also learn the business side? Because, you know, George owned his own stuff, and you know, James Brown, they all owned their own stuff, but it was, you know, did you know about that before, when you guys were starting off?
Yeah, that's how we started. We started off, we had our own record label.
Wow.
Called Blue Lake Records. Our attorneys, Lloyd and Lloyd at the time, suggested that we start our own label. And so our first single was Tonight. And we put that out on our own independent label called Blue Lake Records. So we were starting to understand, you know, it's a great thing to own your own, but we didn't have all the resources to blow up without a major.
Yeah.
And so having the major really blew things up. But that's one of the reasons why we got our record deal, was because of the success that we had on our own independent label.
Wow.
We were only like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, but where did that come from? Because even today, you don't get artists savvy enough to think about that. Who inspired, how did you think, you say you got an attorney, but that doesn't seem straightforward. Yeah,
they actually had a attorney firm in Detroit, and they loved the record. Electrifying Mojo, huge DJ in Detroit area, turned us on to these attorneys. And the attorneys, Lloyd and Lloyd, Leonia and Leona, suggested, you know what, we don't need to wait to put this record out. We can form our own independent record and just circulate it in the Midwest, see what happens. That's where we got the business sense to do our own label. We were still learning, because at the time I would have said, okay, well, sign us to our own label as a subsidiary of yours. But at the time we were still learning. And so we ended up just signing directly to MCA Universal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so your first album that comes out, though, what was the process of when it comes to, you know, the whole writing to production, you know, because you mentioned a few songs that you had in high school, but did you start off fresh when you signed up with MCA?
No, we were in the studio spending our own money. I spent we have in Michigan what's called open house when you graduate from high school. And parents of the friends of your parents, they'll come over and give you college money. So I took all of my $70 and I spent it all in the studio.
Wow.
And some of the other guys chipped in what they did, and this guy chipped in what they did. And we started recording our album with Bernard Terry. And we had 4 songs: Oh Sheila, Tonight, Deep Inside Your Love, and I think the other was I'm the One Who Loves You, something like that. And we recorded, man, and we did a demo, and Universal MCA heard it. And we were like, good, you guys like it, we'll go back in and redo it because this is just a demo. And they said, oh, no, this is working right now. What we hear, we want to go ahead and put out. The next thing I knew it, Lowell Silas was mixing our demo album
Wow.
So we had already tried to make it sound really great, but we planned on going back in and redoing a lot of the songs. But MCA was like, no, you guys are handing in some good stuff. Let's just mix it and put it out. And they were right. You know, I think it would have been better had we gone back in.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't get the same spirit you had when you just developing a song.
Yeah.
And so you can go back and redo it, but you might not have that same thing. And I think what they heard was, no, this is working. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it's what we know we can make happen and sell. And that's how our first album came together.
Yeah, no, I think the things that we kind of missed was the name of the group, Ready for the World. How did that concept come out, the name?
I wrote a song called Ceramic Girl on the first album. And there's a lyric in there that says, so nonchalant, laid back, and ready for the world. So when I wrote that, I was saying, you know, she was, you know, looking good to me without the makeup. And I'm so nonchalant, laid back, and ready for the world. And our attorney said, you know what, you guys should probably use that line, ready for the world. To me, it was too long.
Yeah.
I was like, I want something simple and cool. And they were like, no, I'm telling you, Ready for the World works. And they were right again. But
what were you calling yourselves prior to that? So you must have had a name.
We had a private boys school.
Okay.
Point Blank.
Okay.
What was the other name we had? I think Point Blank actually is still on our first record tonight because we hadn't come up with the name yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that tonight that Twister sampled with Trey Songz? Was that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. They did a heck of a job.
Yeah. Still getting royalties on that, I'm sure. Yeah. But then, so when you guys started, you know, and I think one of the things I noticed with the, in the 80s, so who were the guys, the groups that were on your radar when you're thinking, okay, we need to battle these guys? Not competitive, but just knowing that these are the guys we have to watch out for because we need.
Right. You know, back then, bands were the biggest thing, man. You had LA and Babyface was in a group called The Deal.
The Deal, yeah.
That was one of the people that we would be on the road with, Roger and Zapp.
Okay. Oh, good. It's amazing.
Yeah, great. I mean, Roger, you know, great friend of mine before he passed. I had talked to him maybe 3 weeks before he passed.
Wow. Another
Another group, the Morris Day and the Time at the time was jumping out. Cameo.
Oh, there was a.
These were heavy hitters, man. That when you step to the stage, man, you got to bring it because these guys, Cameo, Morris Day and the Time. I mean, these guys were killing it, man. Prince.
Was Kool and the Gang? Were they Earth, Wind and Fire? Were they still?
They were still on the road. My taste was man, I loved Earth, Wind and Fire. Loved those guys, but they were more or less a big band as opposed to a 6-member small band.
Yeah.
So Function, Earth, Wind and Fire, these guys had like 20 people on stage.
Yeah.
You know, when they were performing. So, but to just have that 6-man, 5-man, straightforward jam session, it was competitive back then because you got, man, heavy hitters, man. Heavy hitters.
And I think back when you started, the labels were a lot more patient with groups. I mean, they didn't, you know, I noticed you in your first album, you put, you know, what you wrote 9 songs, put out 6 singles. So they had time. Yeah, they had time for the bands. They weren't looking for 2-3 million before they think, okay, we've invested enough.
Right.
What was different back then?
Well, you have to have your Berry Gordy's and your Gerald Busby's. What I mean by that, you have to have talent at the record label as well.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of labels that have that type of talent that has an ear as well as executive skills like a Berry Gordy or Gerald Busby. And one reason for the success of Ready for the World is Gerald Busby knew how to do records, knew how to place them and put them out, but he really pushed the records at radio. Wow. As opposed to today, it's kind of really a microwave type of thing.
Yeah.
Labels they won't stay on a record no more than probably 4 weeks. And then they're ready to jump on something else. Whereas back in the 80s and 90s, when they had a hit record, they worked that record.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, you know, back then and now.
Yeah. You know, there's when I listen to a lot of artists, Gerald Busby and Louis Howell Jr., they almost rate them as, you know, they were the modern day Berry Gordy's who really did a lot, especially on the MCA, for a lot of the black artists. And I noticed that Louis Howell Jr. Did a remix on your stuff, but I noticed he worked with the Audition and the BVDs, and that's so when he became an executive, what was it? So he just started mixing your stuff. Did you introduce yourself to him? What was that like? How was he?
By the way, oh, you know, I love Lowell, man. He passed away. It crushed us when he passed. But we were introduced to Lowell by him saying, "Hello, I'm the new A&R at MCA. I'm gonna be mixing your album."
Okay.
So it was no other choice but to say, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, I got this guy, and I'll be mixing the album." But Lowell was a DJ.
Oh,
so
wow.
He understood music. He had that ear.
Okay.
And that's what I mean by, at a record label, you have to have an ear as well as executive skills. And Lowell understood, this is a hit, this is a hit, this is not a hit, this is a hit. And that's what made Lowell so instrumental. He used to call himself the 6th member of Ready for the World.
Wow.
So the seventh member of Ready for the World. So we would go to Lowell's office and he would have our poster, but he would have the art director impose his photo.
Wow.
With Ready for the World. And yeah, that was, man, Lowell, that was my guy, man.
Wow. No, yeah, as I said, everyone talks highly about him, and there's no one you'd hear about that doesn't talk highly about him. So I was shocked to see that he actually did your stuff, remixed it.
Oh man, Lowell was my buddy. I would fly out just to hang out with Lowell.
Wow.
You know, so Lowell was that guy, man. Yeah.
Wow. So then, when you wrote "Oh Sheila," did you know that this is a hit, or did you think, okay, was this one of the?
I honestly felt it when we did it. I still have the first recording when we did "Oh Sheila" on cassette. The very first time we ever recorded "Oh Sheila" in the studio, I still got that cassette. Wow. And it was something that I felt when I heard it. And I've always said, if you don't feel it first, you can't expect the fans to feel it. If you don't get those chill bumps, if you don't have that, oh, this is banging, you can't expect the fans. So I'm very hard on myself when I'm writing. If I don't feel certain things when I'm doing a song, I'll probably trash it.
Wow.
And so that's the way I felt about "Oh Sheila" tonight. You gotta have an ear. A lot of artists can either have an ear but can't sing, or you got some artists that can sing but don't have an ear or don't have a production direction. I thank God that He gave me that skill to produce, write, compose, and sing. So that's a blessing from God, nowhere else. You know?
I won't tell so, but you don't love no more. Have you given up? You've closed the door. You don't know how much love there is. And baby, just how much you've got to give. Come, home. I'll be by your side for everything you need. Girl, I'll hold you tight when things ain't right. Baby, let me be the one to ease your pain. Baby, give me joy from the rain. Come, 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 come. Oh, coming from this rain that's been drowning your heart. Baby, let me drown your eyes. Oh, baby, come inside, come inside. Ooh, yeah. Baby, know it's been too hard, but it's gonna be Sunday one day. Oh, coming from the rain that's been drowning your heart. Baby, let me take you away from all this pain. Love y'all.